Hello, everyone. I just wanted to give you a quick rundown on how the AP board grades the FRQs. Hopefully now you've seen a couple FRQs. This morning's homework, or I guess yesterday's maybe by the time you read this. But I just want to give you a basic idea on how they grade them. I know things are a little bit up in the air because we don't exactly know the format of the test yet, but it's looking like the test is going to be all FRQs actually and no multiple choice. So these percentages could change a little bit, and there probably won't be 6 problems. But anyway, this is how they've done in the past, and I'm sure it'll be some basic grading, which will be similar. So in the past, every FRQ piece of the test counted 50% of the grade, and there were 6 problems. So you can see here, problems 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are graded on a 4-point scale. It was worth 75% of the FRQs. And problem 6 was also graded on a 4-point scale, and it's 25% of the FRQ grade. That would have counted 50% of the overall grade, with the multiple choice counting the other 50%. But now I'm not quite sure what's going to happen because we don't know exactly how many problems there's going to be. So as soon as I get that information, hopefully this week, I'll let you know. There have been some rumors floating around, but I'm going to wait until things are finalized. So everything's graded on a 4-point scale with problem 6, which you'll see on the second assignment this week. There'll be a problem 6 is graded at 25%. It's more. And now I'll show you how this 4-point scale works. So the basic idea of the 4-point scale is each part of every problem is graded either what you see here an E, a P, or an I. So each part gets rubric graded. The E stands for essentially correct, which means you could make a little baby mistake and they could still give you an E. It just depends on how involved the problem is. P is for partially correct. So that's a kind of like a bigger mistake, but not completely wrong. And then I would be incorrect. So the first thing they do is they take each part and they grade each part E, P, or I. And then depending on how many parts there are, those combinations of E's, P's, and I's give you either a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 1. So the first chart you see here is if there happens to be 3 parts. So that top row is E, 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 all 3 essentially correct, you get 4 points. The second row, you see 2 E's and a P, so you get 2 of the parts essentially correct, and the other one partially correct, you get 3. So you can see how fast it goes from 100% to 75%. That's a pretty massive jump, and then even to 50% even quicker. If you go E, E, I, you get 2 points, and then the rest, you see the rest of the combinations. They do have a little bit of leeway in terms of giving half points. So in other words, if you got 2 E's and a P and they thought that P was a really, really small mistake, they could still give you 3.5. So they have a little bit of leeway in doing that. So basically every problem is going to get graded like this. And then it just depends on how many parts there are in terms of how you get the 4, 3, 2, 1. So next part there is you see a 4-part problem. If a problem has 4 parts, each E would be 1 point. Oops, that should say P under there, sorry. Each P, change that. Each P should be half a point, and each I would be no points. Some problems will have more than 4 parts. They might have 5 or 6. If that's the case, you won't know which ones they're combining, but they'll just combine them. So let's say there are 6 parts. They'll take 2 of the parts, combine them, take another 2 parts, combine them, and they have 4 parts, and they're back to that grading. Specifically on hypothesis test, what you tend to see is this. The name and the conditions listed is 1 part. The hypotheses are 2 parts. Sometimes they combine all 3 of those things. That's why you see that little arrow up. And then if they do, then the second part, the test statistic, the p-value, and the picture, which sometimes is 1 part by itself. Sometimes they split that up into 2 parts. So the hypothesis would go up with the names and the conditions, then maybe the test statistic would be itself. And then the conclusion and context. The basic idea is every hypothesis test that you have to do is usually a standalone problem, usually just worth 4 points. So that's kind of a quick rundown. You'll see the grading. Whenever I post solutions to problems, you'll be able to see how many parts a problem has and how it gets graded. So that's just kind of a rough idea. As I have more information on how the test is going to break down, I'll tell you. But kind of gives you a quick idea of how things get graded. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope everything's going well.